Hey, welcome back everyone. John here. It's time again for Disco Elysium. As usual, I did a bit of poking around between episodes and found one more item of interest back by the canal. We'll also be taking the plunge to get into the docks, and I do a few things to tip the scales. You'll see a bit more directly how various factors can change the odds of passing a skill check. And yes, we finally get the body down for an autopsy. That'll be a while yet, so for now let's head back down and take a closer look at the sign. A spot check gives us a chance to interact directly with it, and there's a fair chance our visual calculus can reconstruct the incident. Boosh. Turns out our driver didn't just smash into the sign. They used a nearby crater and the roof of the pawn shop to ramp over the canal. Now that's a hell of a jump with a sign in the way, and it demands that one wonder whether the driver planned on clearing the sign or what. Conceptualization tells us it was within the last 72 hours, which coincidentally is about when we arrived at the Whirling in Rags. We've got some idea of the make and model based on the size of the impact, the tire tracks, and how likely the car was to keep going, since it didn't wreck in the process.
Any theories about what happened here?
Either someone was in the mood for some Evel Knievel shit, or the lock was open and they really didn't want to wait. We can look into this. Kim doesn't expect much, of course, but it's going to have to wait until we cross the bridge. First, let's ask the pawnbroker if he remembers hearing a car on his roof.
Hello again. How can I help you?
Of course, since he doesn't get out much, all he can remember is that it happened. Oh well. Now, we've learned a lot about Roy, so we can easily tell that he's high on something. Let's have a look. He's on something called pyrrolidon, I think that's how it's pronounced, which is a drug for radiation sickness. This may be a reference to how workers in Chernobyl were told to drink vodka as a way to counteract the effects of radioactive debris. I'm not aware of any real-world radiation treatment that is also psychoactive, but feel free to correct me. Amusingly, Googling this told me that scientists have managed to safely distill vodka from Chernobyl, using grain and water from within the exclusion zone. I'd give it a try, what the hell. Serendipitously, our man Roy was part of a cleanup crew, the Emergency Relief Brigade, who formed to deal with a jury-rigged nuclear reactor that melted down. For a stoner running a pawn shop, Roy is remarkably civic-minded. Tried his best, along with the others, to clean up the radioactive muck. There just wasn't much they could do, however. I mean, as he says, a bunch of poor, desperate people tried to build a nuclear power plant. Well-intentioned, but the so-called People's Pile was pretty much doomed from the start. Electrochemistry, still trying to bring out the druggie in us. They're clearly the devil on our shoulder, with volition as the angel. It's an interesting dynamic. Next up, before we go trespassing, is to let Lena know about the car crash. Whatever happened to her husband's expedition, the water lock being broken would cut him off anyway, so it's not unusual that it's been delayed a bit. Little peace of mind goes a long way, however.
Oh, hello, dear. I didn't notice you at first.
We'll eventually get to the other side, so no harm in keeping an eye out for him.
Can I help you?
I stopped to ask Garte about the phone line. You may recall that there are only a couple phones in Martinez, the others being further down the coast and in the Union office. He says it happened not long after the hanging. This is probably why the call for the police only came several days later, from someone we still haven't identified. As long as I'm here, I might as well pay for tonight's room. One less thing to worry about. Just checking the kitchen out. Our cook here loves his job, but apparently doesn't speak English, or whatever this world's equivalent would be called. No big. Carry on, sir. I stopped to ask Kuno about his hideout, Lord knows why. For the chance to fuck with him a bit, presumably. That's right, kid. I have powers. Hobocop powers. Also, it kind of just fell over, but I like my answer better. Yay, experience. Alright, fuck your shit back to normal is good. I'm hanging on to that one too. So yeah, Kuno is himself a speed freak. Electrochemistry is having a game-recognized game moment. Explains a lot, doesn't it? This doubles as an explainer for how this funky magnesium medicine counteracts the effects of drugs. In gameplay terms, it's what we use to heal up morale. Physical instrument daring us to jump. Oh, we're gonna, baby. See if we don't. Composure seems to think we need to go from one habit-forming substance to another, that it might undo the damage of our protagonist's years of drug use. This unlocks a thought we can't really use right now, and we're basically going cold turkey, so I'm not sure how useful it will be in the long run. We'll see. A lot of skills that might be useful in the next section, but visual calculus is coming up more with reconstructing crime scenes. Let's invest. Now, who's up for a little B&E? You'll recall the savoir-faire check before was pretty difficult, a little less than 30%. We've gotten a boost from physical instrument, but we're still working with a few disadvantages, or more accurately, wearing a few. Observe. Our beloved snakeskin shoes give us composure but make us less nimble. As it happens, we picked up a pair of dress shoes somehow better suited for parkour, or at least less clumsy. More than that, our bell-bottoms also penalize the same skill, and we happen to have a pair of jeans we can switch into. Might as well throw the gloves on. Gloves make you better at drugs. True story. I don't see anything else we can use, but reducing that penalty by 2 should give us enough of an edge. The jeans had a gum wrapper in them, which we keep for some reason. Savoir-faire definitely improves of our new shoes. I agree, picture of a face-hugger. We deserve nice things. Goddamn right shoes make us fans of the free market. Gonna put on a suit and talk about all the good things greed and rampant consumerism has done for us. A good question. Why do I care about this gum wrapper? Inland Empire thinks it's tied to Hobocop's sad past, but we don't even really have the option to throw it away. It's such a little thing, but he treats it with such care. What's hiding back there, man? Anyway, time to jump. Yeah, see, we have much better odds now. Let's do it. Embrace your inner Van Halen and jump. For once, Necktie, we agree. This is the coolest we've been since we've woken up. Oh yeah! Kim is on board with Trespassing. I like the use of disco in place of cool. We are both such colossal nerds and people trust us with guns. It's great. Right on. Let's get our cloak back. It's a shame to part with the blazer, but we're in the stage of an RPG where you start slapping on anything that gives you better stats. And this cloak gives us both esprit de corps and shivers. There we go. Now all we need are the sunglasses and we can be a 90s action hero. Little surprised you can't wear both, actually. They both have RCM insignias on them. I figure composure might come up with a union boss, so let's put our green shoes back on. Alright, let's look around. Nobody in the office, thankfully. Hey, a phone. Now we have a police radio, so we won't need to call anybody right now. Unless we need to call someone without them knowing, or we lose access to it at some point. And it's also worth mentioning that someone placed the call to the police after the phone line of the Whirling was cut. We'll remember where that is for later. Yeah, what do we have here? Kim gets it. Let's do some digging. It's all logistical information, hard to sift through. Our high volition gives us enough focus, but it's still arcane accounting data. We do find a note, however, a to-do list. Most of it seems innocent enough. However, electrochemistry smells something fishy about this special borscht. Nothing we can do about it for now, though. Oh, sweet brown medicine, take away the pain. A postcard for $4.50. Don't mind if I do. Steal everything. We're the good guys. Now here's something, glasses that boost our visual calculus. Not quite sunglasses, but this we can use. The drama penalty might make it tougher to act, but that seems a fair trade-off. Let's try them out. Inland Empire sees something in the trash, as it so often does. And it turns out it was probably our handiwork. Tempting to believe I was enjoying myself, but given what we've learned so far, yeah, I was probably just having a sulk. Call me the Incredible Sulk. He wouldn't like me when I'm angsty. We met one of these guys off camera, two old men playing a game in a crater. Arnaud's an old union man who's not helping with the strike, but still on good terms with Claire and still collects a pension. Not much up here though. I might come back for this picture, but I don't recall him saying anything about it. Besides, Kim's getting antsy. Let's move on. Patience, my man, this is all going according to plan. I think. Kinda making this up as I go, really. All the containers are marked with the shipping company. I'm a simple man. I see a panel with some big buttons on it. I want to push the big buttons. Don't leave me alone with electronics, folks. Anyway, this drops one of the cargo containers, which was just hanging from a crane for some reason. It's possible it was just left there when the harbor was locked down, but we're already investigating a murder, and, if Joyce can be believed, the drug trade. Might as well get nosy. Surprisingly quiet, you say. I'm actually rather surprised I didn't get every guy in the harbor to come investigate. It is weirdly quiet here. No guards watching the back way or anything. Kim's inner nerd appreciates seeing big machines go to work. Don't we all? I mean, what is a crane if not a grown-up version of those toys you get as a kid, with like a steering wheel and a shitload of buttons on them? You never get too old to enjoy screwing around with complicated machinery. Let's have a look at this thing. While Kim enjoys machines, he thinks our weird hunch here is mostly baseless. It's almost like he knows I'm metagaming, and acting like of course the only container you can interact with is important somehow. Yeah, you're off the hook for now, container, but this ain't over. We'll be back, just you wait. Yay, more money. Awfully quiet around here, though. Man, we're racking it up here. We should trespass more often. We've already dropped a container and announced our presence, so what the hell, let's talk to this guy.
Container, container, I'll turn you nice and red. Container, container, put the logos on. Container, container, used to be well pines. container now belongs to Everett.
Remember the note from the office?
Everett,
This guy's
Everett,
making banners to
Everett. He
rebrand
looks
them.
after everyone. Huh? Well, hey there. How can I help you, mister?
Hi, we're the cops and we hopped the wall. We're looking for your boss.
I see you're not a union man, mister. Did you get lost? You're not one of them scabs, are you? I mean, I don't personally mind. Folks is just folks, you know, and folks gotta eat. Just some of the other guys don't look too kindly on the scabbing kind, if you know what I mean, mister.
So Leo here is the nicest guy in the union. Not part of the lynch mob and really just Claire's gopher. He's perfectly happy to talk with us, and he explains that most of the guys are either busy with the strike or guarding the gate. He brings up Titus and his guys, claiming they got in trouble and were sent on quote-unquote vacation, hence why they're hanging around the whirling, though it's just as likely they were sent there to silence witnesses and intercept the police when they arrived. Suggestion wants us to take it easy with this guy. Frankly, the way he rambles and digresses, despite our best efforts, means we're not going to get a lot of real information out of him. He probably is intentionally kept far away from the Union's shadier business. One little detail I like there, he's kind of perched precariously on the ledge without much care. There's an old famous picture of workers on a skyscraper in the 30s, and they're just casually sitting on a girder eating lunch. If I recall right, that picture was staged, but I've seen others in a similar vein. Just try to imagine working on a crossbeam that high up with no safety harness. It's all on your personal balance, and if you so much as lean too far, you are just gone. They're very much leveraging the feel of the 1920s and the post-World War I era. Here he's talking about Claire's right-hand man, or right-hand woman, rather. Volition and rhetoric help us focus, and reveal that this Miss Buford is none other than Elizabeth, the lawyer posing as a gardener back at the whirling. So Claire paid her through law school. Interesting. Might be worth bringing up if we run into her later. Leo's the one that wrote that note, and he goes on about this borscht he's been bringing the guys. The special borscht. Borscht is a funny goddamn word. It doesn't really come off the tongue well. Anyway, electrochemistry is curious, sensing that there's something off about this stuff. Soup's good on a cold day, but it won't make you ready to fight. He mentions it's a special order from the Whirling's cook, and Manana talks to the guy in his native language. I go back and forth for a bit. There's always the possibility of a red herring, but we'll be back there anyway. This might be worth looking into. Volition, helping us bear through his Grandpa Simpson moments. Experience, thank God. Also, Claire's right through that container door. Figures. Logic is ready to put the pieces together, asking why all the banners for the cargo containers. It should be obvious, really. This isn't just a strike. Claire's rebranding the containers. Logic and conceptualization paint a picture of some red infection spreading to consume the harbor. Are you getting it yet? Can you handle these layers upon layers of extremely subtle symbolism? Communism! And of course, they're shipping something in these containers. He thinks there's some kind of chemicals. Now, a harbor is going to have its share of hazardous materials being moved in and out, but we can't take any detail for granted. Claire has big plans. I doubt he's just looking for concessions from the company now. Well, thanks for that illuminating tidbit, Leo. Stay safe up there, old-timer. Time to meet with the boss. Little confused why he's built his office in a bunch of cargo containers. Mr. Clare, I presume. Now, right off the bat, there's a visual detachment from the working man. It's been a long time since this big fella's done any hard labor. And yet, he's accustomed to power, and good at outwitting his enemies. His men are loyal and violently protective. We should not underestimate this man. Staring contest. Try me, bitch. I've got the expression. My face is frozen like this.
So, Mr. Dubois, Mr. Kitsuragi, how nice that you found a moment to pay a visit to the Debargers Union. I'm Everard Clare, head of this little operation here. Please, have a seat.
Fake British accent. We found our villain, ladies and gentlemen.
You go ahead, detective.
The chair is uncomfortable, obviously to put people off their balance. And more importantly, Inland Empire points out he seems to know who we are.
Please, Mr. Dubois, let us converse in a civilized manner as equals. Take a seat, I insist. Very well, Mr. Dubois. I respect a man with strong convictions. I, too, have convictions, one of which is that I will not engage any man who won't face me at eye level. Should you find yourself more amenable in the future, I'd gladly resume our conversation. But until then, I'm afraid I must ask you to leave.
No choice here. Our ass is just gonna have to deal with it.
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. I can see that you're a reasonable man, and reasonable men can be of great use to one another.
So tell me, how can the head of the Debargers Union help a representative of the Revachol Citizens Militia today?
Oh, by the way, I heard you got a rather rude reception from a certain Lawrence Garte. Some people have no manners. Pains me to say. This should take care of that nonsense. It should be sufficient to cover your expenses for a few days and patch over your differences with the cafeteria manager. Go ahead, take it.
$25 gets me one more night and maybe a drink.
Yes, I know Lawrence. He's a real character. No union man in him. A real piece of work, that boy is.
Fuck that and fuck this guy's check.
Okay. I respect a man with principles. No handouts, then. Now, I'd like to set your mind at ease about one other matter. Your lost gun. Let me assure you, Union people are on it as we speak. I've got my best hounds looking for that lost gun. Lost gun.
Half-Light succeeds here, but it only serves to make us panic. Claire knows about the gun, which means he knows what Hobocop did to himself. He's been spying on us. Play it cool, man.
Are you alright, Harry? You say you've got this, but you seem a little anxious to me. Don't be. Everything's going to be alright. It's not like you left it loaded. You didn't lose a loaded gun. Local children aren't out there playing with it right now, pointing it into their own mouths. It's in a safe place. I just know it. I have a feeling everything's going to be alright.
Of course we kept the fucking thing loaded. We were threatening to kill ourselves with it. The chair's a hell of a penalty to get around as we try to keep calm. Not good odds. And of course he's fucking with us. We know some woman bought it from the pawn shop, but it's still a huge problem. We're losing it, and he knows it.
Mr. Dubois, you don't look so good. Mr. Dubois! Mr. Dubois! Harry! Mr. Dubois, are you okay? Can I get you a glass of water or something? Are you having some kind of medical emergency?
Here's our chance. Let's sit up and focus, see if we can't break this mental funk we're in.
What an odd demonstration of... Huh? You got me, Harry. I don't even know what. As entertaining as it was, I'm afraid we're wasting our time, and I'm an extremely busy man, as I'm sure you are too.
Okay, enough. We are here to ask you some questions pertaining to a murder investigation.
There we go. We didn't pump up our volition for nothing, and all those extra morale points are good for a mental cushion when things go awry. A lot of things to ask him about. Not all of them things we should give away just yet. Let's start with the obvious one. Of course, he's perfectly happy to talk with us about the hanging. In exchange for one itty-bitty active forced entry. I imagine this being said sarcastically. Kim gets to the heart of it. It's about having the cops do the union's dirty work. Yeah, he's trying to get us to intimidate someone, probably someone that broke ranks on the strike. I'm not going along with this, at least not yet. We might well have to, and Kim seems to know this, but I want to weigh my options before helping either the Union or the company, especially when members of the Union are the prime suspects. Yeah, he doesn't seem very surprised that we're here. One thing I'm seeing in common with the Hardy Boys is he wants to show off. He's playing coy about the hanging, so we'll do what he asks, but wants to give the impression that he has all the answers. Undoubtedly, he knows much, and the game here is figuring out how much, and whether it's worth doing what he asks. At the very least, let's see if his guys can get the body down. Kim, both pointing out the Union is under suspicion, and that, if he's some benevolent community leader, then helping us remove the body would be very beneficial for the community. Fortunately, on this one, he's willing to give a little. Jean-Luc, as it turns out, is the guy measurehead at the gate. Guess he's big and tall enough to get him down without much fuss. Great guy. Yeah, I'll just bet. Rhetoric is worried, understandably, that I might have to work with Claire to get my gun back. He might even have it, although I don't think that's likely given what we learned from the pawnbroker. Esprit de Corps is basically Kim's anger translator. He knows we're busy with a murder investigation, but we need to find this thing. Suggestion finds it odd that he's okay with us talking to the company representative. Joyce told us about how Claire turned away the previous negotiator, despite being able to work with him in the past. Claire plays innocent when asked. Yeah, nobody in this business goes to spend time with their family. This is dodgy as hell. Then there's the previous forewoman, who suddenly went missing. He claims she literally was late for the vote because she left the oven on. Likely story. Either he's telling the truth, which is unlikely, or he's very, very comfortable with the lie. Yeah, they'd be talking right now if he wanted to. He really likes bringing up that lost gun. This is a man trying to work every bit of leverage he has over us that he can. Rhetoric has a curious idea how to go about opening that container outside. More on that later. I was really torn about whether to ask about his real name. It gives away our mental problems, but might be necessary to formally figure out who we are. Harry Dubois, our man Hobocop. And yeah, this gives away what our hero has put himself through. Yep, time to play dumb. Hell, he probably knows already. It's not like Harry's drunken rampage was some kind of secret. Yeah, it turns out this is another chance to either extort us or simply act like he knows more than he does. Either works to his benefit. Drama has a funny feeling about this folder he seems to have, and I'm tempted to roll the dice here. Let's ask some basic questions first. Rhetoric picks up on the power play, acting like it was easy to get info from the RCM. Well, we've definitely been leaning into sorry cop since we woke up. It's a little hard not to after the phone call with Sylvie. Something's up here. Everything points to Harry going through a messy divorce, but no mention of the family in that file of his. So he's a Jamrock resident. That's a start. With Kim backing us up, we've got a better shot now. Drama's on a penalty from the glasses, but it's still pretty good odds. Let's roll them. Yeah. Turns out the folders are just like the ones back in the harbor office. He's got a fluffed up report from the Census Bureau, which does have some info on us, but not from the RCM. Kim spells it out. They've been gathering information on us since we arrived, but don't know anything beyond that. Well, all the rest of these questions would either agree to his task or give away that we're investigating other matters. It's possible this special borscht is also related to the drug trade question, but I don't think we're going to learn much more from him, at least not now. He does give us a card so we can come and go, and almost certainly expects us to come back, tail between our legs, asking for help. We'll see about that, big man. Come on, Kim, let's get out of here. passed the cargo container on the way back, and I wanted to take a closer look. And when I saw this... persuade the door to open. Yeah, that cracked me up when I first saw it. It probably wouldn't even work, but just imagining that working somehow would be fucking great. Sadly, it probably is empty, just a big hanging red herring. We can't get it to open anyway, at least not conventionally. Onward. Since we leveled up, I look into where to put the point, and ultimately give Volition a bump. You see that even if you don't specialize in a skill, there are a lot of little ways to give you better chances at various checks. This game rewards exploration, asking questions, but also being smart about it, being aware of the greater context of your situation. Time to talk to Measurehead again, or should I say racist Picard.
Your race descent has only worsened since I last saw you. You have really let yourself go.
Well, I still got to your boss, so fuck you too, buddy. He is willing to go get the body down for us, but there is a catch. We have to stand on the wall until he's done, making it look like we're siding with the Union. It's not ideal, but given our limited options, our hands are legitimately tied here. Apparently Measurehead is black, and it's way more obvious when he moves. The tattoos in his folded arms hide most of it, and his icon is practically a photo negative. Really threw me off, to be honest. He's still a Nazi poser, but like a black supremacist working for white communists. Yeah, just go with it. It hurts my head trying to rationalize it. Yeah, whatever, lady. Our decision to just stand here has consequences. Scab leader is not happy. I know I shouldn't say this, but like most of my bad decisions, morbid curiosity compels me. Sounds like his job is done. Keep telling yourself that, big guy. See you never again, hopefully. Just perk ourselves up a bit here.
So, how'd you like our harbor?
It would have been better if we could have taken some coffee. There's no option to ask Manana about the whirling cook, so it's possible he's not really involved. Now here's some Bush era rhetoric for you, enemy combatant. Yeah, Manana's friendly enough, but he knows more than he's telling, and seems to just want to stay out of any additional trouble. was on my way to the yard when I noticed something else to interact with. The truck cabin right over here. I decided to take a closer look. Turns out the driver has some nationalist trinkets all over his truck. Entirely possible that our nameless racist outside the Fritz store partook in the lynching. It seems a little too easy, but it's worth asking.
Looking for something?
Yeah, at the bottom of your boots. Figures it's not our guy. His right sole is still treaded. Right, let's carry on. I do a last-minute check to see if anything I'm carrying might help with the inspection. Doesn't appear to be the case. I gotta buy some more clothes. You know, as soon as I get unpoor. There he is, down at last. The irony is, Measurehead probably just grabbed him by the legs and pulled him down, like Kim was trying to avoid us doing. It seems it falls to us to perform a field autopsy. We don't cut him open or anything, but we do need to inspect the body and determine a probable cause of death. Detectives in Revachol don't just investigate. They handle the body, the crime scene, and try to smooth things over with the locals. There's no one else to call in, and when we're done here, we just send the body in for more thorough processing. Now, I looked into this a bit, and apparently you can ask the gardener/lawyer for her gloves, but only during that first day. There was no option to ask her today, though that might have changed once the body was down. What's annoying is there doesn't seem to be any other gloves we can use. Either they're expecting you to get the body down on day one, or you're just supposed to ask for them as soon as you can. There's no real way to handle the body without them, so Kim takes the lead physically and we start with the paperwork. This is a very thorough sequence, in spite of our lack of privacy. This is about as detailed in autopsies I've seen portrayed in a video game. And we've got our name at least. We're missing a lot of information here. Name, date of birth, presumably things Alice will be able to find if given enough time. Really wish we could just chase off these little brats. Though I do like you can be kind of irreverent here, even if it doesn't really fit the tone of the scene. I forgot to ask, but treatment, I believe, is whether the body was handled in any way unrelated to the murder, say if it was mutilated or if someone tried to resuscitate him. Kim offers a sign of respect. He's not alone. Esprit de Corps remembers some colleagues of ours as they perform it. Drama really wants us to have those boots. We'll have to lie on the autopsy report and get them off before the body gets taken away while Kim is asleep. Like the task itself says, it's very difficult and probably not something we'll do on this playthrough. I can't even imagine a use, unless we can sell them or something. I take the time to give our own sign of respect. It's all gone now, but there was someone here. There, dead man. You were someone's child. It's all over now. Noting the stones thrown at the body post-mortem, Kuno objects to the description as low velocity. The belt is too tough to cut through with Kim's knife. We'll need something stronger, like the chain cutters in the car. While it's a grim scene, I rather appreciate that we're grappling with the physical realities of dealing with a dead body, that progressing in the investigation involves fairly mundane hurdles, like just getting to the body or removing the belt used to hang him, and that they're discussing the effects of the environment on evidence. It's a slow-paced game, and things like that matter. I appreciate a story that sweats the small stuff. Let's get back to it. For some reason, Kim trusts us with this. Physical instrument is not good, to be kind. Probably should have put on that other shirt I had. That gives a boost. Surprisingly, leaning into Kuno's insults helps calm me down, giving me a slightly better chance at not fucking this up. But it wasn't meant to be. Sorry, Mr. Dead Man. Despite our best efforts, we're kind of blowing this, so Kim steps in before we can do too much damage. And there we go. Now we can inspect the damage done by the belt itself. If you recall, when we first inspected the body, empathy told us that the man was enjoying himself before he died. Now, our recovering brain interpreted this as a rather dangerous fetish, but ignore that. The complicating detail is he doesn't seem to have been struggling when he was hung. Processing will take time, but should tell us if he was, for instance, having sex at the moment of his death, which, if true, would be sometime before the hanging. Visual calculus draws the obvious conclusion that the mercenary had seen a lot of action in his time, and thus had an extensive military career. The hands are another clue. There's no sign that he was fighting off a crowd, attacking someone, or even clawing at the belt. conceptualization helps us with a little bit of gallows humor. Kim seems to appreciate it. Anyway, we're doing our best to perform an internal analysis, but we can only tell so much with what we have. Kim's feeling around for where the neck would have broken from the hanging. Certainly a fatal injury, if he were still alive at that point. Other than that, not much we can tell about him internally, at least not without cutting him open, which we're not really equipped to do right now. Can't check his blood, though I think one of the skills can let us request a toxicology report. That would be an important detail if he was drugged or sedated at the time. Any other damage or details are consistent with what would happen to a body left to hang. Lastly, we note the injuries of the body. I somewhat sheepishly ask about the injuries, shall we say, inflicted during the autopsy. Kim lets us off the hook there. Thanks, buddy. Maximum velocity. Yeah, other than the hanging itself, the only injuries we can see are clearly post-mortem. Then there's the ligature mark, the belt that broke his neck. Once more, no clawing by his hands, no desperate attempt to free himself. When we got here, this looked cut and dried, a lynching with an obvious cause of death, obvious political motive, and obvious suspects. We got a confession, the group responsible almost daring us to arrest them. I should mark this as the fatal injury, and yet something's not right. I can't explain it yet, and unfortunately the game doesn't let me articulate my thoughts. But certain facts complicate the picture, make me reluctant to just mark it done and call it a day. The eighth man at the scene, the lack of a struggle when he was hanged, the phone line being cut the same day, the victim's apparent mood before he died. Fortunately, Kim's on the same page. I think back to the Hardys' confession in the last episode, where they claim the merc sexually assaulted someone. Now, maybe they were hiding the supposed victim for her protection. Or maybe there's another answer to all this. Something that explains how a guy this size, with this history, doesn't look like he tried to fight off a crowd of angry dock workers. Tests could take a while. We did our best, though. Not now, electrochemistry. Maybe after hours. Thinking the same thing, Kim. Visual calculus agrees. Perception doesn't give us much chance. I know we're missing something, but what? No such luck, sadly. Inland Empire gives us another chance, which lets us delay sending the body out. If we're going to look more closely, however, we need to find a way to preserve the body. Not a lot of options to keep him cold enough. We'll need someplace with a fridge. Surprisingly, he thinks Kuno might know a way. But first, our options are the Whirling and Frit. Realistically, there's no way in hell Garte's gonna let us keep a body in his freezer. The Frit girl, maybe, but that's a hell of an ask. Either way, time's a factor on this one. But that, however, will be something for next episode. So we learned a lot this time, but we still have more questions than answers. Do we help the Union with a little favor for Claire? And do we trust him to hold up his end of the deal? Do we go back to Joyce? Do we just stick with a crime scene, talk to our witness, and find out who's lying? Do we get drunk, curl up into a little ball, and start crying again? All distinct possibilities, to be sure. Before stopping, I remember I need to unlock more thought spaces, and derealization looks handy, and imposes no research penalties. I spend a point to open up the spot for it. But yeah, lots still to investigate. We do need to check out this special borscht. We might be able to squeeze Hardy a bit more now that we've met his boss. And after all that, I say we've earned a drink next time. Until then, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.